growth hormone. We'll discuss growth hormone under its secretion, chemistry, half-life, transport, its action, receptor, as well as its mode of action, together with applied physiology. Now, our first outline is the source of growth hormone. Growth hormone is secreted from the somatotropes, which is an acidophilic cell of anterior pituitary gland. Nature of growth hormone. Growth hormone is a protein hormone and it's being degraded either in the liver or in the kidney. Half-life. Growth hormone has half-life of about 20 minutes, and growth hormone is transported by growth hormone by the protein. Functions of the growth hormone. What are the actions of the growth hormone? Growth hormone, the major action of the growth hormone is that it's responsible for the general growth of our body, as well as differentiation of some type of cells, such as the bone cells and the muscle cells. Growth hormone brought about increase in the number of the cell as well as the size of the cell by cell division. In addition to its general growth action, growth hormone also acts on metabolism. It acts on the metabolism of protein, on the metabolism of lipid, as well as on the metabolism of carbohydrates. The action of growth hormone on the protein metabolism is that it increases the synthesis of the protein by the following ways. It increases the absorption of amino acid, decreases the catabolic breaking down of protein, increases the transcription of DNA to RNA, also helps in the translation of messenger RNA. All these things helps in the synthesis of protein. For the lipid, the action of growth hormone on the lipid is that it helps to liberate lipid from the adipose tissue, thereby leading to the releasing of fatty acid in our system, which will be used as a source of energy. We should know that too much liberation of adipose from our body can cause fatty liver due to the too much accumulation of the fats. Effect of growth hormone on carbohydrates. Major effect of the growth hormone on the carbohydrate metabolism is that it conserves glucose. It helps in glucose conservation. By one, it decreases the peripheral utilization of the glucose, decreases the uptake of the glucose by the cells, increases the conversion of glucose into glycogen for future use. It also has a diabetogenic effect because growth hormone indirectly acts on the data cells of islets of the legas of the pancreas, which will lead to the production of insulin, and hypersecretion of growth hormone will warn out the data cells of islets of the legas of the pancreas. Thereby, there will be a decrease in the insulin production, which will lead to a diabetes. Another function of the growth hormone is that it also acts on the bones. In early development, growth hormone is responsible for the differentiation of bone cells and also helps fusion of the shaft together with the epiphysis. Hypersecretion of growth hormone before the fusion of the shaft and the apophysis will lead to a condition called gigantism, while hypersecretion of growth hormone after the fusion of epiphysis and the shaft, it will lead to a condition called acromegaly. Growth hormone play an important role in bone formation. It helps in the division of the osteoblast together with the chondrocyte. It helps in the conversion of chondrocyte into the osteocyte. So those are the action of growth hormone. It's responsible for the general growth of the body, acts on the metabolism of the protein, increase in the synthesis of the protein, liberate lipid or liberate fat from the adipose tissue, and conserve glucose. Also acts on the bones. After knowing the action of growth hormone, we need to know how they carry out these actions. That is what takes us to receptors of growth hormone. Receptors of growth hormone are what we call growth hormone secretagogue. These growth hormone secretors, they are present in numerous cells, but majorly situated in the liver cells. In the liver cells, growth hormone will come and bind to the receptor to form hormone receptor complex. This hormone receptor complex will activate intracellular enzymes, which will lead to the development or to the release of another substance called somatomedin. This somatomedin is the mode of the action of growth hormone, because growth hormone on itself cannot just come and work or carry out its action on a particular cell. It functions through somatomedin, which is released in response to growth to hormone receptor complex. These somatomedin are being released by the liver cells, and somatomedin is also called insulin-like growth factor. So there are two different types of somatomedin. There is insulin-like growth factor 1 and there is insulin-like growth factor 2. This insulin-like growth factor 1 is the means through which growth hormone acts on the bones as well as protein metabolism and growth, while insulin-like growth factor 2 performs most of its action during the fetus development. Insulin-like growth factor 1 is also called somatomedin C. Somatomedin has a longer lifespan than the growth hormone, because somatomedin has a half-life of about 20 hours because it is tightly connected to the plasma protein, whereas the growth hormone is only loosely connected to the plasma protein. Tightly connected somatomedin will carry out its action in a target cell slowly. The mode of action of this somatomedin, they act through second messenger CAM, that is CAM. In our previous video, I've already explained how CAM bring about the action of the hormone on the target cells. Next is regulation of growth hormone. In our previous video, I've already explained that hormones in our body, they are majorly regulated by two means, either hypothalamic control or feedback mechanism. Now, the growth hormone is regulated majorly by that two means, hypothalamic control and the feedback mechanism. Though there are some other factors that can lead to a secretion of growth hormone as well as inhibit the secretion of growth hormone. Growth hormone can be stimulated by the following factors. It can be released due to stress, due to hypoglycemia, or in the early hours of sleep, while it can be inhibited by hyperglycemia, increase in free fatty acid in the blood, as well as the later hour of sleep. Now, the hypothalamic control of growth hormone. Hypothalamus control growth hormone secretion by releasing three different types of factors: the growth hormone releasing hormone, the growth hormone releasing polypeptide, and the growth hormone inhibitory hormone. Once the hypothalamus releases growth hormone releasing hormone, it will stimulate the somatotropes to release growth hormone. Growth hormone releasing polypeptide will also act on the somatotrope to release growth hormone, as well as act on the hypothalamus to release growth hormone releasing hormone. While growth hormone inhibitory hormone, it is called somatostatin, though it is also secreted by the data cell of the islet of the ganglia of pancreas. Once the somatostatin reaches the anterior pituitary gland, it will inhibit the release of growth hormone. That is hypothalamic regulation of growth hormone. Next one is feedback mechanism. Growth hormone is being regulated by negative feedback mechanism. Under regulation, we said it's regulated by hypothalamic and also by feedback mechanism. It's being regulated by negative feedback mechanism because hypothalamus will release growth hormone releasing hormone or growth hormone releasing polypeptide, which stimulates the somatotropes, that is the acidophilic cell of anterior pituitary gland, to release growth hormone. Growth hormone will bind to the receptors to form hormone receptors. The hormone receptor will lead to the release of a somatomedin. Increase in the somatomedin in our system can act on the hypothalamus to to release growth hormone inhibitory hormone, which will inhibit the release of the growth hormone from the anterior pituitary gland. So that is a negative feedback mechanism, because increase in the somatotropin through which the growth hormone acts will act effect on the hypothalamus to release growth hormone inhibitory hormone, which will inhibit the release of growth hormone. Also, growth hormone on itself can inhibit its own secretion by acting directly on the somatotropes to inhibit its own secretion. That method or that forms of feedback mechanism is called short loop mechanism. So these are the regulation of growth hormone, either by hypothalamic control by releasing of the three factors, or by feedback mechanism or short loop feedback mechanism. Another substance that regulates growth hormone again is ghrelin. Ghrelin is an hormone that is released from the fundus of the stomach or some other part of the body, such as the kidney. So it stimulates the release of growth hormone by acting on the hypothalamus to release growth hormone releasing hormone, or growth hormone releasing polypeptide, and also acts directly on the somatotropes of the anterior pituitary gland to release growth hormone. So that is growth hormone. Now, other hormones of the anterior pituitary gland, most of the other hormones of the anterior pituitary gland, they usually function or controls other glands, like thyroid stimulating hormone. It acts on the thyroid gland. Adrenocorticotropic hormone acts on the adrenal gland. Luteinizing hormone, as it's been called, in female is luteinizing hormone, whereby in male is testicular cell stimulating hormone. It helps in the secretion of, or it helps in the production of testosterone from the largest cells of the testis. Now, luteinizing hormone in female is one responsible for ovulation. Together with follicle stimulating hormone, it also helps in the maturation of the Graafian follicle. Follicle stimulating hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone in male, together with testosterone, it initiates or increases spermiogenesis. While follicle stimulating hormone in female perform various functions, such as maturation of Graafian follicle, aromatase activity that will convert androgen to estrogen. It also stimulates the thicker cells of Graafian follicle to release estrogens. Prolactin play major important role in development of the mammary gland and milk production, while beta-lipotropin is a newly discovered hormone, and it acts by liberating the lipid from the adipose tissue. It is also served as a precursor for endorphins. And the mode of action of this lipoprotein is through adenine cyclase. Last thing we shall be discussing on the anterior pituitary gland is applied physiology. Under the applied physiology, we'll be looking at the conditions that will arise if there is hyperactivity of the anterior pituitary gland or hypoactivity of the anterior pituitary gland. Under the hyperactivity of anterior pituitary gland, there is hypersecretion of growth hormone. This hypersecretion of growth hormone can lead to acromegaly, gigantism, or acromegalic gigantism. Acromegaly is occur due to the hypersecretion of growth hormone after the fusion of epiphysis with the shaft of the bone. It is usually characterized by gorilla pace, prognathism, that is protrusion of the jaw, thickening and broadening of extremities. While gigantism is caused due to the hypersecretion of growth hormone before the fusion of epiphysis and shafts. Acromegaly gigantism is a rare condition in which a person is having both the characteristics of acromegaly and as well as that of gigantism. It usually occurs if there is hypersecretion of growth hormone before the fusion of the epiphysis with the shaft, and hypersecretion of growth hormone after the fusion of epiphysis and the shaft. All this hyperactivity of the growth hormone, they majorly occur due to the tumors of anterior pituitary gland. For the growth hormone, they majorly occur due to the tumors of either the somatotropes as well. Now, Cushing disease. The Cushing disease is a disorder that is characterized by too much of the releasing of adrenocorticotropic hormone, thereby leading to the oversecretion of cortisol. It is called Cushing disease if the cause is from the pituitary gland, but if the cause is from adrenal gland, it is called Cushing syndrome. Now, hypoactivity of anterior pituitary gland. Under hypoactivity of the growth hormone, there is dwarfism, there is acromicria, and Simon's disease. Dwarfism is a condition or is a disorder that is caused due to the hyposecretion of growth hormone. It is usually characterized by a stunted growth. Now, what are the conditions that lead to the hyposecretion of growth hormone? There might be either atrophy of somatotropes or lack of the receptors of the growth hormone or deficiency of the secretagogue. There are different categories of the dwarfism, like Laron dwarfism. Laron dwarfism. It occurs as a result of an abnormal receptor, growth hormone receptor. Then there is also psychogenic dwarfism, which occurs due to excessive exposure to the stress. Acromicria is a disorder that is characterized by the atrophy of the extremities. It is usually characterized by the thin extremities, and it occurs either due to the deficiency of the growth hormone or the growth hormone receptor or the atrophy of the anterior pituitary gland. Simon's disease. It is also called pituitary cachexia, and the most majorly causes of this Simon's disease is panhypopituitarism. Panhypopituitarism is a condition in which there is general decrease in the secretion of the anterior pituitary gland. Now, the commonest feature of this Simon's disease is a senile decay. The senile decay is a condition in which a 30-year-old person or a 10-year-old person will be looking like a 50-year-old person. Also, one of the characteristics of this Simon's disease is that there will be a lack of hair and also the decrease in the number of the tooth of the individual.